I'm Toni Hicks and I look after the knitted textiles area at the University of Brighton. Certainly the learning together principle is one that I'd be using, and also ethical responsibilities, and to some extent synergy and co-creating, because I think they tend to amalgamate in the nature of the way that we participate in the teaching within the fashion textiles area. For about the last 5 or 6 years, I've been very conscious and increasingly aware of the issues that surround the fashion and textiles industry. And although years back when we were teaching, we sort of knew that there were issues with the industry which involved bad practice, particularly concerning the workforce. We didn't really address it in teaching students on design courses, and what's become really important now is the fact that we want to make every student in the design course aware of what happens within the whole industry, and that is particularly important when it deals with supply chains, because it's the end. We're dealing with the end that's the visible end, if you like. We see the students come to us because they are predominantly young people, very interested in what they wear, image, magazines, shopping, all those sorts of things. But often it's become an invisible aspect, the aspect of where are these clothes, where are these textiles made. To a great extent, they're not really exposed to the side which is the rather sort of pitiful human side, whereby several of the people who are perhaps making the clothes they're wearing are sort of living in sort of dire poverty and working long hours, and just to make clothes which they buy in high street stores. So this is the aspect we're trying to make them aware of. In the early stages of a course, we really just begin by getting the students interested in textiles and fashion that is made in other parts of the world. We work on a project where the students actually find a traditional textile and actually research quite thoroughly into it to understand the nature of the processes, the nature of the sort of styles that are coming out of different parts of the world, because as designers ultimately they'll be able to tap into these areas, and it's important that they can do it in a positive way, because the students within probably about 5 years, maybe a little more, a little less, of graduating are likely to find themselves in positions where they can actually make decisions about deciding whether they might choose a particular factory, a particular type of technique, and it's important for them to get to have a global understanding of where all of these textiles belong, and how they can actually utilise this knowledge in a positive way. So that's one aspect of it. As we move on a little bit further, the area that I'm involved with is knitted textiles. So we spend a project which is literally hand knitting. During these sessions, obviously, because we're sitting in small groups and we're learning about the hand techniques, it's a good opportunity to sort of engage in quite a sort of conversational way about the issues that are involved within the fashion and textiles field. We're not delivering this as a as a one-off lecture that's part of a whole program. It's something that we just let infiltrate into the learning process, so that students will be asking questions, and we'll be sort of involving various we'll be talking about the different problems, the different situations, just sort of exposing a little bit of the situation that they may not have ever thought about before. Some students come in and are very well informed, so it's an opportunity for them to share their knowledge as well. It's not just me teaching at the students at all. It's very much a shared experience. But this isn't to say that we should dismiss the idea of fashion altogether, but it's more to say that there are other ways of dealing with it, and when we discuss these issues we can say, well, it is possible. You can, by acts you make, and by decisions you take, you can actually, in a way, group to make something really effective happen, rather than thinking that you're ineffectual, which I think is one of the things that a lot of people feel, because of the enormity of the way that the problems of the future are kind of given. I know we had a student in our fashion department here who very cleverly was designing clothes that were made with the minimal amount of seaming. It can keep the costs high because the quality of the fabrics are good, but the work, the amount of seaming, the amount of work that the people who make it have to do is kept sort of minimal, which means that proportionately they can be paid more for that article of clothing. It will take them less time to make it. The design is still inherent, and the amount of work and time balances out. It's not that it's education in the way of giving sort of brand new knowledge to a design student. What it's doing is just sometimes stating something that's very obvious, but for some reason it's a factor that's been clouded by current practice, by the way that fashion industry has been operating over a number of years. But it's actually coming around to sort of full circle for them to have the challenge of how to make something that's incredibly contemporary, but maybe utilising the knowledge from the past, rather than just sort of obliterating it and thinking that they're going to invent something brand new based on no knowledge whatsoever, and sometimes on knowledge which is quite flawed. It's giving them a very strong idea of how they are actually really quite important in all of this.